Hello, welcome to the 53rd edition of Drive-Thru Review. Today I'm going to talk about Goblin Market. It's a game for the Deck game system. It's a custom-made card game system. And if you haven't heard about Deck or you're not familiar with it, I would suggest going and look at possibly two of my other reviews. One on a game called Magnate, another one called Emu Ranchers, or the guys at the Dice Tower actually did a video just on the Deck itself. So if you go to Board Game Geek and you can go to the Deck entry and look for the video there. So I'm going to show you, it's a Goblin Market. It's an auction game for 3 to 6 players. And it's sort of like an auction filler, so it plays pretty quickly. Actually today I played 3 games in an hour, a 5-player game. So it plays real quickly, but it's a lot of fun, and you could probably play it for money, and it might make it more fun. But let me show you a little bit about it and come back and share my thoughts. Okay, as I was saying, Goblin Market is an auction game. You're going to have 2 decks of cards here. You're going to take your basic deck here, and you've got all your number cards, your kings, or your crowns, and your aces. You're going to shuffle these all up together, and this is going to form a draw pile. And then you're going to take all of the courts and the pawns. So the courts here with the 2 guys, and then the pawns there, and you're going to shuffle those up into a separate deck. And then you're going to need another component here that you don't get, something beyond the cards. So if you look over here, I've got a whole mess of pennies, and you're going to need a lot of something to count with. The rules specify 25 per player, and that's probably pretty close. That seems to work pretty good in all the games that we've played. So to start the game, each player is just going to get 10 coins or whatever, 10 things to make their bids with. So each player starts with that, and that's it. And what you're going to do is you're going to ignore this Goblin deck for now, and on a round you're going to flip over a card. Now if it's a card that's between 2 and 9, if it's got a number showing on it, then you're going to flip up 2 other cards, and you're going to auction those cards, like so. If you had flipped up a crown, then you would discard that, and then you would draw out 3 cards. If you flip up the ace here, then you would only flip up 1 card to auction. So you're basically going to go through this whole deck and auction off the whole deck, but you're not going to auction off every card in it. You're always going to flip up a card, and that's going to tell you how many cards to auction. So anything with a 2 to a 9 is you're going to do the next 2 cards. Anything with a crown, you're going to do 3 cards. Anything with the ace here, you're just going to auction off 1 card. So players are just going to, audibly bid in a scaling auction. So I may bid 2, somebody else just has to bid higher than that. Now all of your money is visible to all the players, and so you're just going to go around until somebody wins. Now if everybody passes, you're just going to discard these and then start again. So let's say that happened, I discard all of them, we flip that up, that's an 8. So I'm going to draw 2 more, and then we're going to auction these cards off. So if I win the auction, let's say I won the auction, I paid my coins back into the bank up here, then I have a choice. I can either take all the cards shown, or I can take one of the cards. If I choose to take one of the cards, then the person that was second place in the auction, if there was a person, would have to pay whatever their highest bid was for the second card. If we were auctioning 3 cards, let's say we're auctioning these 3 cards here, then the third place player would have to pay whatever his maximum bid was to take the third card. So you either take all the cards or 1, and then you stick the other 2 players possibly with a card. And you also stick them with having to pay their money. So if you win a card, let's say I had won this 8, I take that and I put it face up in front of me. So there's a couple things that are going to happen now. So if I had already had this 8 in front of me from a previous auction, on a future auction, if somebody bids and their winning auction, let's say, was 28 coins or 8 coins or 18 coins, something ending in 8, then I'm going to get 3 free coins from the Goblin Bank. Just because I had an 8 and it was the last digit of whatever the final winning bid was. Now on top of that, if I had had a 7 in front of me, I'd get 2 additional coins, because that's 1 step below what the last digit of the ending bid was. If I had a 6 in front of me, then I would have, I'd take 1 coin. So if I had all 3 of these, I'd get 3 for the 8, 2 for the 7, and 1 for the 6. That's only if the last digit ended in an 8. If the last digit ended in a 7, then 8 would be ignored. And then I would get 3 for the 7 and 2 for the 6. So it always ends in the last digit and then works its way down a couple of steps. So that's a way that you can gather income on the round. Now if I had won some cards, then that wouldn't be apply to me. It's only if you don't win cards. Now after the auction's been won, the cards have been dealt out, you're going to take and flip over the top card of this Goblin deck. And this is considered the Goblin deck, the ones with all the pawns and the courts in it. So I'm going to flip the top card over. And all of these cards have 3 of these symbols here on it. So this one's got the sun, the wave, and the snake. So I'm going to get coins out of the Goblin Bank for each of these symbols that I don't have in front of me. So if we take a look at this, if I've got these 3 cards in front of me, I'm not going to get any coins because I've got a sun, I've got a wave on this card, and I've got a green. Now if I didn't have this wave per se, then I would get coins because I didn't have a wave. So the money's going to come out that way. So as you start the game off, if you don't win any auctions, you're going to get coins every turn. And as you acquire more and more cards, this payout's going to go down every turn. So you're going to go all the way through this deck. You're going to auction off most of the cards in the deck. If you run out of the Goblin cards, you just shuffle them back up and keep dealing them. And then you're going to score. Well, how do you score? What's the whole point of this? What you're trying to do is collect 3 sets of these suits. Now these numbers up here don't matter except for the funky business with the the winning bid if you have the last digit. But for scoring it doesn't matter. You're just looking at the suits. So what you're trying to do is you take your top 3 suits that you have the most of. So in this case I've got 2 snakes, 2 suns, and then I've got 1 moon and 1 wave. So your top 3 suits are going to count you a point for each card that they're on. So the cards sometimes will count double points, or it'll count also positive and negative. So let's take a look at this. So I've got 2 snakes, so that's 1, 2, and then 3, 4 for the suns. And then I can choose either one of these since that's my 3rd suit. So 5 for the wave. So those are my top 3 suits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then any extra suits that aren't in your top 3 are going to count a negative point for each of them. So I'm going to lose a point for this. So let's do it again. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I lose a point for this, back down to 4. Now let me just do another scoring example. So you can see in this case I've got 2 snakes, 2 suns, and 2 waves. And I've only got 1 leaf and 1 moon. So my top 3 are obviously the snakes, the waves, and the suns. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But then I have a moon, and a leaf, so that's -2. So 6, 5, 4. So I still only got 4 points there. So it's going to be kind of tricky as these come out. And you can see all these are doubled up in the suits. Some of these have 1, like the ace and the crown only have 1 on them. And so you're trying to get your most optimal hand without going over. If you played Coloretto, it's exactly like that. And that's pretty much how you just play the game. You're going to start off with 10 of these. You're going to bid them in. You're going to collect a whole bunch at the beginning of the game, especially if you're not winning auctions. And then you're going to have tons of money, and so will other players, to grab some of the tastier auction rows that come out. You can see if something like this came out, this would be really optimal because you've already got 2 of the same there. So that's how the game works. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the overview. It's a pretty funky little auction game. You can actually get it played really quickly. It definitely kind of changes with the more or less people that you have, I think. But 4, 5, and 6 probably seems like it's optimal. It's kind of weird because you start off with 10 coins, and then if you lose the first auction, somebody else buys it, they pay 6. Well, you flip that first Goblin card. You're not going to have any cards in front of you, so you're going to get coins. Well, you maybe do that again for the next round. You get 6 more coins. So now a few players are starting to get flush, and so they're kind of waiting for that big auction to come where there's 3 cards in the middle, and hopefully not 3 cards of all varying suits, because that's not really that great. But maybe that isn't such a bad deal, because if you've got 1 or 2 cards, then you could bid kind of high, you could pay, but then you go and take 1 card, and you can try to stiff some of the other players that are in there. So you got to be kind of careful there. So it's real interesting. And also the deal where you get the last digit. If you have an 8 out and somebody bids 18 and you win, you'll get 3 coins. So you can even kind of play around a little bit with trying to manipulate the bid if it's when you get a few cards in front of you, or if you get a streak of cards in front of you. You know, I've had turns where you get like, okay, you just bumped a bit up just a little bit, and you've got an 8, a 6, and a 7 in front of you. Well, you're going to get, you know, 6 coins from that, and maybe, you know, another couple coins from the Goblin. So it's real funky. I think it'll take a few plays if you try this game, and I recommend you try it, for you to get into sort of how the flow works. And the games are usually pretty tight. It seems like, you know, 4 points up to 7 points is where people kind of fall. And so people, it's real, you got to be real diligent about how you manage your money. That's real tight. So it's a really fun game. If you haven't tried the deck tet before, you know, I definitely would pick it up. Mostly there seems like there's 2-player games for it, at least from the ones that I played that I've enjoyed. But this is a really good one that plays up to 6. And like I said, we played 3 games in an hour today. And it was good, you know, with 5 players. If you can get that much game out of something, I think that's a good thing. So, thank you.